in Wintervernachten auf russische Felder. Wo kennt man sein Älter? Wo kennt man sein Älter? A Fädel an Autos, a skripende Schlitten, a Schlag auf a Schneite, und ich bin inmitten.
Von unten in einzigen Winkeln blassen, noch läschen sich treuerig Hände passen.
Dai da 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 da,
Ja da da da, ja da 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 da.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sammy Keats. Thanks for joining us here at Detour Books. We're a new online-only bookstore, providing a source for multicultural literature in English translation with a focus on Yiddish writers, as well as curated children's books, unexpected gift ideas, and Yup coffee, roasted right here in the Pioneer Valley of Massachusetts. This is our first forum discussion, and we want to focus your attention on the multimedia musical event 150 Voices with project organizers Polina Shepherd in Brighton, England, and Lorin Sklamberg in New York. To lead the discussion, we're pleased to have Yiddish scholar, translator, musicologist, and musician Zeke Levine, who's based in New York City. So let's get started. Zeke, will you introduce our guests?
Thanks, Sammy. I'm so excited about the great things that are happening at Detour. I've been spending a lot of time with the books that I bought through the site, and I'm thrilled to be talking with Polina Shepherd and Lorin Sklamberg. I've really fallen in love with this new album, and so I'm looking forward to learning more about how it came to be. So I'd first like to introduce Polina Shepherd. Whilst living in Kazan, the capital of Tatarstan, Russia, and studying at the State Academy, Polina joined Russia's first klezmer band after Perestroika, Simcha. She is one of the first generation of musicians of the Yiddish revival scene in Eastern Europe. Acting as a program director, educator, and performer, she has been involved in festivals, conferences, and seminars globally. Now living in Britain, Polina leads 4 choirs and continues to tour internationally as a Yiddish and Russian singer. Her compositions, including music for theater, large and small scale choir pieces, and other vocal settings for Yiddish poems are performed by soloists and choirs all over the world. Lorin Sklamberg is the lead singer of the Grammy-winning Klezmatics, which he co-founded in 1986, a leading exponent of Yiddish song and traditional Jewish vocal techniques. His crystalline, expressive vocalizing never fails to have an emotional impact on all within its range, and that's something that I can personally attest to. He has also worked for the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research for almost 25 years, currently as its sound archivist. For 14 years, he was the coordinator of KlezCamp, the Yiddish folk arts program, and co-founded Living Traditions. Lorin can be heard on some 50 CDs and also composes and performs for film, dance, stage, and produces recordings. So thank you so much to both of you for being here. And my first question is kind of a general one. So if you could tell us about the origins of the project and maybe what those first meetings were like.
Oh, shall I say something then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it was my idea, I guess I should start. Basically, I just wanted to bring several streams of my whatever I was doing in life together into one CD. So I teach choirs. I wanted to record choirs, but on their own, they were never really big enough or professional enough to have a recording. And Lorin and I have a couple of projects together we've been toured the world with. And I thought, well, why not combine all these things, and also the Jewish and the Russian side of what I do. They interlink quite nicely. So I thought that would be a nice thing to do. Plus, I love working with people. I love singing with Lorin. And we had a nice combination of events that just worked so that we were able to start recording here in Britain, because Lorin was coming to teach at a Jewish music seminar here in London, Klezfest, Yiddish Song School. So we thought, well, let's give it a go and then see what happens. And then I contacted our wonderful friends in Boston, and the choir, we can talk about that wonderful community choir. They were just so delighted to be invited and take part in it, that it just came together really nicely.
Yeah, and so was this, you mentioned that it was, Lorin was in England, so you started recording with choirs in the UK, and then you came to Boston. So how important is this international music making experience, both for projects that you've worked on before and specifically for this project?
Well, for one thing, I work, as you mentioned, at the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research, so that's a source of a lot of material. And in this summer school that I've been teaching at in London, part of it has a choral component. So I've gotten the opportunity to sort of dig through YIVO's collection of Yiddish choral music to try and find materials. And over the years, I've done a combination of that and write some arrangements of my own. And interestingly enough, the Yiddish choral tradition intersects with the Russian choral tradition a bit, both in terms of, I guess, style, but also in terms of repertoire. There's a lot of kind of borrowing from Russian music in the Yiddish culture, choral tradition. So that was very cool. Also, should we mention that Polina had the support of the government for this project? Should we mention?
Which government is that?
Right.
No, what happened was that a friend of mine and a colleague here in Brighton had some funding to record originally non-British cultures existing in the UK right now, and that basically allowed us to have the recording done. So he brought his equipment. We hired a huge church here in Brighton, and my choirs arrived from London and gathered from around this area. So that was wonderful. I'm still waiting for the files to go on the British Library's archive. They're still not there, but we have them.
Yeah, the thing is that when you're talking with with two people who have their fingers in so many different pies in so many different places, a lot of times the discussion isn't going to go exactly where you plan. So, so I'm just saying. So anyways, the idea of combining all these choirs in different places was really, really, it was fortuitous that we did it, and that we did it when we did it, because shortly after, of course, we had the pandemic to contend with, and I was actually supposed to have gone to Spain to visit my son, and he got sent home. He was on a junior year abroad, actually. He goes to Boston University, so he got sent home. We didn't go there, and Polina and I decided to try, to finish this project virtually, which wasn't I don't think was our original intention, but that's how it ended up.
So when you talk about original intention, again, back to those first meetings, I mean,
Yeah.
what were you envisioning for this project?
Well,
like, were you going to take it on tour? Were you going to go around the world with it?
Well, I think the idea still is that we have, a body of work, a repertoire that we can, give to local choirs any place, and they can learn it, and they can bring us. It's relatively inexpensive to bring two people, and we can, rehearse with them and put on a concert with them of this particular material. So the thing that the pandemic did was that I think that when we were making the CD, I thought, we were probably thinking, well, here we are with these choirs, and the important thing is when you have, 60 or 80 people that are singing with you, that's the most important part to get done. And then you can always sort of, do your stuff or fix your stuff later. But then that wasn't possible anymore. So we decided, okay, let's make what we have work. And so we did.
Right. Right. And could you tell me a little bit more about the arrangements, about the arranging process, and particularly arranging for choir? You get some great sounds, some great textures out of the choir. So
because it was
just talk me some of that.
It was logistically such a complex thing. What I decided to do with my choirs is to use the arrangements and the songs that my choirs already knew. And because Lorin has given me so much repertoire that I had taken both to my Yiddish choirs and to my Russian choirs, they knew a lot of songs that he gave me and that we sang in our other projects too. So there was a lot of common material already. So we decided to go with the most familiar things, certainly with my choirs here. So I slightly rearranged, slightly tweaked already existing choir arrangements, and we just stuck our duet verses somewhere in between and made it all work. And there was one improvised piece that was just improvised on the spot. The final song.
Which one is that? Oh, the final song.
Right.
Right.
It was kind of improvised. We had a few
Right.
different takes, and it was all like a wave of sound, like a big sound, I don't know, sea of sounds. But with the Boston Choir, Lorin, maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, so the Boston Choir has a relatively new director whom I had met because he had done the Zoomer program, the intensive Yiddish course at YIVO where I work, and he really has sort of re-energized the choir, and we I think we did 4 pieces with them, and 3 of them he sort of arranged. He arranged to their strengths, and then I think he did the 4th arrangement. He did himself, but it was around material that we gave him. You know, and you know, and they were just great. You have to understand that both of these projects were basically recorded in 2 days. Or 3 days, okay. With the choir, each massed choir in the case of the UK, and in the case of the Boston Choir, each of those groups was done in 1 day, which is like
Boston was amazing. 85 people. We wouldn't do it now. 83 people squeezed in one room really tightly for something like 6 hours, and that was quite an experience. Just the experience itself was quite fun.
Yeah, but you do sort of draw on a different kind of energy source when you're doing that, and also, you know, when you're working with that many people who all are of the same mind, you feed off of each other's energy, which is really great. I mean, in a way, it's like when you perform, you know, it's like having a perfect, you know, audience, except they're also part of the performance. Yeah, so that was really pretty great.
And I was seeing that one track on the album Und du Ackerst is either composed or arranged or both by Jacob Schaeffer, who was, you know, this legendary choral director of the Jewish folk choruses. And so I'm wondering if you see this project in that lineage at all, the Jewish folk choruses.
Oh, sure. You know, he has a lot of these, you know, folio, you know, they're a particular look. If you've ever done any choral singing, you know this kind of, you know, format of choral music, and there's a lot of his material at you know, at the YIVO. But yeah, sure. I mean, I would say, well, especially the Workers' Circle chorus, or Besser Welt chorus, is definitely, you know, in that lineage. But I think really any chorus that's singing Yiddish music is part of it, because what are they going to draw on? You know, you're going to draw on you know, so much of the Yiddish choral repertoire is you know, about, you know, freedom, and about, you know, people's rights, and about you know, how good it is to do this or to do that, and to do it together. And so I think that if you have a Yiddish course, that by default you're probably going to be part of that tradition, whether you like it or not.
Right. And do you sense that takes on those values that you just mentioned, take on sort of particular resonance in the last couple of years, you know, politically, socially?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get somebody in trouble.
No, it's gonna get in trouble. I think that we were, that everyone was all pretty fired up. I mean, especially in Boston, and we were, doing, this Undu Akkerst and doing this Holly Near song in Yiddish. You know, those sorts of things. I think that, singing those songs at a time right now when people need that sort of reinforcement and reassurance, that there are people who are thinking like them and who are, who have everyone's best interests at heart. I think that sure. I think that it definitely informed the performances that we have here.
Right. And who did the translation for I Am Willing?
That was Yuri Vedanyapin,
Okay.
who is a Yiddish professor at McGill University in Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful arrangement, and it was so great to hear it in Yiddish.
Thanks. He's done some other things that I've been involved with, and particularly another socialist, well, not socialist, but another human rights anthem that comes from Catalonia from the 1960s, that he translated into Yiddish. And in fact, the Besser Welt chorus does a version of that as well.
Mhm. And since we're on the topic now of the arrangements for this track, or for this album, I was really interested in the mashup of Offen Jam Weet de Winterla and Von Wannen heeft zich geliebe. So I'm wondering if you could just talk about that, how you put those songs together. I mean, it works so beautifully on the album, but maybe if you could talk me through that process.
Paulina's like,
Lorin, your idea, go on.
okay, yeah. So the thing is that I've been involved with a couple of things. I've been involved with the establishment of placing the folklorist Ruth Rubin's field recordings online. And so I've sort of been involved or aware of a lot of and listening to a lot of folk songs, traditional songs, in the process of my daily work at YIVO, I became aware of these recordings that were made by a family from Northern California called the Bluestein family, and the two parents of that family started their relationship as I think it's camp counselors at Camp Kinderland, which was a Jewish camp, and two of the songs that they sang at that camp and that they talked to their kids around whom they formed this American old-timey band were those two songs. And I sort of, in my mind, I sort of thought, well, why not put them together? So that's sort of where the idea of using those two songs came from. And, of course, Polina and I, like, we have a really nice way of being able to intertwine our voices in a way that I don't do with other people. So that's very gratifying and nice to be able to do. And so that's where we got those songs. Yeah.
Okay. And am I remembering correctly that Gris Ba Gris is also of Jewish summer camp lineage?
Yeah. Gris Va Gris comes from Camp Boiberik. Camp Boiberik was a summer camp that was founded by Leibish Lehrer, who was a Yiddish Renaissance man, and the music was. I remember who the music is by. The camp has its own repertoire of songs. And interestingly enough, the camp was a non-religious camp, but they would celebrate Shabbos, the Sabbath, and they had a repertoire of songs that were not religious in nature, but helped them, do different things that they would do. Like everyone at the camp would dress in white, and they would all, gather together, and they would sing this particular song. And it's sort of a secular version of Shalom Aleichem, which is a song that traditional Jews sing to greet the Sabbath. So when I first heard this song at a memorial for Chana Mlotek, who used to be the music archivist at YIVO and is a well-known researcher and collector of Yiddish songs, and also published many books of collections of Yiddish folk songs that have become standard reference works for people wanting to learn songs. That song wasn't in there, but I heard them sing this song at this event, and I asked afterwards, said, what's that beautiful song? And so I figured it out, and I started singing it with Polina, and it seemed like a natural for a choral treatment. Yeah.
And Polina, the Russian translations of Yiddish songs, are those yours, or had you found some of those?
Russian? I don't think there are any Russian translations
none?
of songs. I think there are just purely Russian songs, and there is definitely one song that is both a Yiddish song and a Russian song, but it's a translation from Russian to Yiddish, Allein and Weg.
Okay. All right.
But there are Russian folk songs and folklore Russian songs that do have authors, but they sound like or considered to be folklore, but even by Russians.
Got it.
So these are actually Russian songs that people still sing in Russia.
Into Yiddish. Okay. And so have you gotten responses like from the choirs who have heard the recordings? I mean, I have to imagine that they're pretty pleased with.
Well, just imagine my choirs are now on a long break, and we stopped in March, and we were supposed to carry on singing, and we were supposed to have the recording, the CD, the actual physical CD to have in our hands by the end of May. So we don't have any rehearsals, and after several months of not singing, they're receiving that CD. That was in the beginning of July, I believe, so slightly delayed by the pandemics. But that was I had like my mailbox just got overloaded with people's responses, and that's 4 different choirs coming together. Some of them know each other, some of them don't, and it felt like a huge sense of unity and community and being together and being able to feel that, to be connected despite everything happening around us. It's amazing. I'm still getting these things. We're still, sometimes we play a recording and sing with it with my choir, Zoom meetings and stuff. So I think it would be fantastic to have more videos with songs from that CD.
Yeah, we've done one with the Boston choir. They're very industrious, and so we did one for them with them, like a music, sort of a music video, and we have a second one in the works.
Man von Arbeit heute gewacht und erkennt ein größer Macht. Wenn der starker Hand nur will, stehen alle Räder still. Man von Arbeit heute gewacht.
It's always, content is key in 2020. So as much as you can put out.
I mean, I'd rather be singing live with them. Part of the plan was that we were going to have a release party with the Boston chorus.
Well, I was also planning 2 concerts here with my choirs here, one in London and one in Brighton. We also planned we had an invitation from Kiev to go and do the workshop on the performance with the Kiev choir. This is the project, like more than just the recording, the project of taking this to other communities, to other choirs. And we were talking to Dresden, and they wanted to do a 2-weekend event, one in Prague and one in Dresden, and that didn't happen. I really hope that this will still happen after the pandemic.
Right. And so, one last question that I have for you both is, you know, I know that you've worked together many times, and you've mentioned some of those projects here. Is this album different from some of those other projects, or does this feel like a continuation of the work that you've done together?
Well, it's kind of it's kind of it's kind of both, because we we made the arrangements around our duet singing, but we also included some just straight ahead duets of ours. Some things that we haven't, that we've been performing that we haven't gotten the chance to record. Uh, some things that were new, and and I mean, and yeah, I mean, I say it's a continuation, and yet going somewhere else with the two of us. So it's a little of both.
Well, we've worked with choirs. We've shared choir gigs together, and
That's true.
the sharing of the repertoire as well. Lorin gave me lots of Yiddish song arrangements, and I think there are two arrangements that, like Svetlana and something else, is you started the arrangement, then I modified it for my choirs, and then we changed it for the recording. Specifically, this interesting modulation in one of the songs that just there's an overlap of keys and all that. So it felt like to me, it was like a nice continuation of these two, like the choir side of the duo side, this coming together. I actually say that if I die after the pandemic, this is the kind of the climax of my music career, because I bring everything together. Works for me, but hopefully it'll encourage some other events that I'd like us to take this music further. I'd like us to create on top of that. It would be nice to do more music with more people. It would be nice to combine more repertoire, maybe some other cultural influences as well. I think there's lots of things we can do.
Yeah. We did a concert with the Kitka ensemble in the Bay Area, which is a whole nother kettle of fish, because they concentrate on sort of although they go a little bit of everywhere. Mostly their center is Balkan singing style, and so the opportunity to get to work with them was a lot of fun, because for me it's like I'm from Los Angeles originally, and I was involved in the the recreational folk dance scene. So I sort of come to it from that music from a slightly different angle, and that was really really fun too.
Right. Great. Well, is there any words that you all have about the album? Anything that we haven't touched on here?
Well, I would say that to me, like, music is one thing, one aspect of it. The project and how the logistics is another aspect, but the community aspect to me is really, really important, especially now. And I'm teaching groups online now. Actually, I teach a choir online now for the Workers' Circle. This is just ridiculous, but there's still some kind of there's some sense of singing together, even though we can't hear each other. And I think it's really, really important right now. And when we talked about human voices and this, like, hearing each other, or even just knowing that you're singing together with so many people at the same time, just that knowledge of not being on your own and sharing some energy, because it's not just the text, it's more than that, is amazing. And I think that projects like this are really important. And in a way, it's really sad that it came out during the pandemic and we weren't able to have all these CD launches. But on the other hand, I think it's great that we got it done, and that we can now, let people hear it, let people connect in that way.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you both so much. The album is incredible, and I'll pass it back to Sammy for some final thoughts.
Yeah, so thanks, Zeke, for hosting our discussion. Really appreciate it. And thanks to you, Polina and Lorin, for taking the time to be with us today. And thanks to everybody out there in Cyber Zoom space for joining us. So please come by Detour Books, where you'll find the CD for 150 Voices on sale now. many new Yiddish translations and inspiring gifts for the upcoming holidays. So thanks again to all and see you next time.
Verborgene Wehen von Säumen, wo's warten und warten auf Sehen. Ai, da, 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 da. Ai, da, 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 da,
In Wintervernachten auf russische Felder, wo kennt man sein Ernte, wo kennt man sein Ernte?